Before Mazda made Miatas and manufactured the Millennia, they raced mercurial mechanicals and motorsports and made many melancholy trips to the magnificent 24 hours of Le Mans. What started out as a tiny race team ended up becoming a high-performance brand itself. This is everything you need to know to get up to speed on Mazdaspeed. The year was 1967, and Mazda had just started selling the Cosmo. No, not Timmy Turner's fairy godfather. The new car, the two-door sports coupe with the newfangled rotary engine, the 10A COS. When the Cosmo arrived at Mazda Auto Tokyo, Japan's largest Mazda dealer, one employee in particular took notice. That employee was former race car driver Takeyoshi Ohashi. Ohashi saw potential in the weird space-agey Cosmo and talked the dealership into letting him start an independent race team called Mazda Sports Corner. Mazda had been doing pretty well at races all around Asia, and they were eager to prove the reliability of their Wankel rotary engine to everyone else. Instead of using pistons that go up and down, rotary engines use spinning metal Doritos called rotors to compress air and fuel inside of an oval housing. With the factory's help, in 1968, the Mazda Sports Corner team entered 2 Cosmos in the 84-hour-long Marathon de la Route. You heard me, 84 straight friggin' hours of racing around the frickin' Nürburgring. Talk about jumping right into the fire. The Cosmo race cars would be mostly stock with only small changes like an extended wheelbase for stability, power brakes, and a larger grille opening for cooling. Mazda put powertrain engineers Kunio Matsuura and Takaharu Kobayakawa on the project to bump up the power for the Mazda Sports Corner team. They gave the 10A rotary engine an aluminum housing to save weight and modified the intake to make an extra 20 ponies for a total of 130 horsepower. To everyone's surprise, by the 80th hour, the Mazdas were running in 4th and 5th behind a pair of Porsche 911s and a Lancia Fulvia. One Cosmo crashed out, but the other finished just off the podium in 4th. That is an astounding result for a totally new car with a totally new engine in an insanely tough endurance race. Mazda immediately saw that the Mazda Sports Corner could help them not only get more brand recognition out in the world, but also help develop their production cars. They used what they learned in pre-race testing to make improvements to the 1968 Cosmo street cars. Plus, everyone was so stoked with the results of their first race that they couldn't wait to go back for more. Mazda helped the Mazda Sports Corner team race everywhere throughout the 70s. At home in Japan, in Europe at the 24 Hours of Le Mans and 24 Hours of Spa, and in the US at the 24 Hours of Daytona and the 12 Hours of Sebring. When Mazda launched new models, Mazda Sports Corner raced them. In 1978, the Mazda RX-7 took the racing world by storm. In America, they dominated the International Motorsports Association Series, IMSA, where the RX-7s would rack up a total 100 wins over the next 12 years. On the whole, the Mazdas did great, but where they kept falling short was at the prestigious 24 Hours of Le Mans. Like Nolan eyeing a tall glass of milk, Ohashi and Mazda both focused on Le Mans and became even more determined to conquer the beast. Mazda bought a majority of stock in the little race business, and Ohashi changed the name from Mazda Sports Corner to Mazdaspeed, the name of the episode, in 1982. Finally, the team had a promising breakthrough when their RX-7 254i came in 14th at that year's 24 Hour of Le Mans. As Suki and I know all too well, long-distance relationships are hard to keep going. So Mazda asked Ohashi and Mazdaspeed to move in with them at their headquarters in Hiroshima in 1983. They were about to get seriously serious about winning Le Mans together. When the FIA announced the new race classes and Mazdaspeed took the opportunity to switch from production-based cars to racier Group C sports prototypes. Group C was one of the gnarliest road racing classes ever. These things were fire-spitting, eardrum-shattering monsters that weighed nothing and were fast as heck.
Whoops, and somebody else has a tire blow on the main straight. This time it's Hasemi, the Japanese, in the works this end. What? My goodness me.
The rotary-powered 717C, 727C, and 737C prototypes they raced for the next few years did pretty okay, but Nissan and Toyota were starting to use turbo V6s, and it soon became obvious that Mazda was going to need more power than their little two-rotor 13B Wankel could make. Even though Mazda had been working with Ohashi's team for years, the extent of their factory support was really only two guys working full-time on race engines. Nobuhiro Yamamoto and Junichi Funamoto sat down with their boss Noriyuki Kurio and decided what they needed was another rotary, but the idea wasn't officially approved. So they had to work on it in secret after normal work hours. Kind of like my dad worked in secret on his other two families. The secret three-rotor engine became not so secret to Mazda execs, and they gave it the official green light the next year. It's like, guys, just tell the truth out of the box and normally it'll work out. Smash that like button if you hate secrets. Subscribe if you have some. Soon they had a new 13G rotary making 450 horsepower at 9,000 RPM ready to go. Over the next few years, they had some better results and class wins running the 13G in the 757 prototype, but still no overall wins. Man, this winning at Le Mans thing is hard. What was the Zoomy car company to do me? Add another wheel? No! You add another rotor! A 500 horsepower, 4-rotor, 13J engine went into the next generation Mazda 767 prototypes in 1988. The very next year, they pumped the 13J M engine up to 630 horsepower, but it still wasn't enough power. With Mazda senior exec Yatsuo Tatsutomi watching from the stands, the 767s came in 7th, 9th, and 12th at the 1989 24 Hours of Le Mans. Those finishes clinched Mazda the IMSA GTP class title, an impressive feat for any team, but Tatsutomi still wasn't satisfied. He asked the Mazdaspeed team what they needed to win, and veteran driver Pierre Dodon flat out said, another wheel? No, he said 100 more horsepower. Sorry. No need to be sorry, just like shoot. With a mandate from above, Mazda's now 8-man race engine team built one of the most glorious screaming banshees since the Odyssey. The loudest banshees since Halo. I wanted to make a reference to Homer's The Odyssey, but my crew said, no, let's make a Halo reference because they'll like that. The 4-rotor R26B Wankel. At full whale, the engine made an incredible 930 horsepower and had a 10,300 RPM redline. That's with only a 2.6 liter displacement. But in a 24-hour race, things gotta be reliable. So in race tune, the engine only made 700 horsepower. It wasn't quite the 100 more ponies that Tatsutomi ordered, but the engine was smaller, lighter, and more efficient than the previous 13JM. Oh, and it made some of the most incredible noises to ever come out of a car. Listen to this clip. Now this is pod racing! Mazdaspeed excitedly entered 2 787s at Le Mans in 1990, but heartbreakingly, neither one crossed the finish line. They got knocked down, but in true tub-thumping fashion, they got up again. They made the chassis stiffer, improved the engine's power band and reliability, and added carbon brake discs, a first in Le Mans competition. Mazdaspeed went into the 1991 24 Hours of Le Mans with 2 updated 787Bs and 1 787 from the previous season. It would be the last year they were allowed to enter their signature rotary engine. It was announced that the following year's rules were going to change their class and mandate 3.5 liter engines like F1 cars had. All of Mazda's racing hopes and dreams, hashtag hope dreams, were riding on 3 cars. They knew they had reliability on their side, so the team told the drivers of the fastest 787B, the orange and green number 55 car, to push hard at the very beginning. After 6 hours, Mazdaspeed was in 4th place behind 3 Benzes. And after 12 hours, the Benzes, they started to the braking. The car, it's broken. It does not feel right when I drive it. Can we take it to the dealership? No, we can't afford it. We should have bought the Honda. No, you said you didn't want the Honda. It's just not a status symbol. We'll have to take an Uber to finish the race. I have a Lyft credit. No, I want to use Uber. The number 55 stayed quick and consistent, and with 2 hours left to go, it snagged the lead and never gave up. Almost 20 years of dedication finally paid off. I know what that feels like. Mazda became the only Japanese automaker to win the 24 Hours of Le Mans, a title they would hold for 27 years. That calls for some lightning! Since the FIA banned the rotary in 1992, Mazdaspeed turned their attention towards supporting grassroots motorsports instead of pro racing. Mazda RX-7s and Miatas were crawling all over racetracks, and Mazdaspeed jumped in to develop and sell go-fast parts for race cars. In 1999, Mazda took their relationship with Mazdaspeed to the next level and bought them out completely. They kept slanging motorsports stuff, but fast Mazdas had been absent from the production lineup for a while. Finally, a couple of board engineers at Mazda R&D in Southern California decided it was time to crank things up a notch, and they started working on making speedier versions of the Mazda models. Their first idea was to take the popular but underpowered Protege MP3, one of the best handling front-wheel drive cars ever, and slap a turbo on it. The 2003 Mazda Protege had the same rad racing beat suspension setup as the MP3, but made a much more entertaining 170 horsepower from the 2-liter 4-cylinder engine, with a unique front air dam, rear wing, and Racing Heart wheels. Racing Heart wheels were the in the early 2000s. They made the wheels that were on the Fast and Furious Supra. Yeah, you like that, you pervy little weirdos? Some of you guys were over there like cleaning your koi pond and you heard, huh? Supra? Some of you are watching One Punch Man and you're like, huh? Did I hear the word Supra? But the Protege was a dying platform, and the first Mazdaspeed model disappeared just 1 year later. A Mazdaspeed MX-5 Miata was ready to take its place in 2004. Ever since the 1990 Miata came out, enthusiasts cried over more power. Well, they finally got it in the form of a turbocharged 1.8 liter 4, making 178 ponies. It had a 6-speed manual, an LSD, stiffer springs and sway bars, Bilstein shocks, 17-inch wheels, and wider tires. It pulled 0.98 Gs on the skid pad, and all for only $900 more than a regular non-turbo Miata. You can't even buy a turbo kit for that. As good as that sounds, the Mazdaspeed Miata was dead after just 2 years. In 2005, the new Mazdaspeed 6 got not only a turbocharged 2.3 liter 4-banger and 274 horsepower, it got active torque split all-wheel drive. But unlike the Mazdaspeed Protege, the Speed 6 was a high-performance sedan for grown-ups. It had an understated trunk spoiler and a hidden intercooler, perfect for speed-loving adults who wanted to fly under the radar. But there wasn't really a market for a mid-size sedan that wasn't sweet for commuting or hitting the track. So the Mazdaspeed 6 was also left behind after just 2 years. What about the Mazda 3? I'm getting to it, buddy. Just sit tight. I'm just excited, I said. It had been a huge seller since it came out in 2003. Maybe they could turbocharge one of those too. It's a great question. The 2006 Mazda Speed 3 came out with the same engine the Speed 6 had and put out 263 horsepower. Aimed straight at the VW GTI, the Speed 3 was a rather tame looking hot hatch, but it would rip the steering wheel right out of your hands if you weren't careful with it. Bigger wheels, different bumpers, and the rear spoiler were about all that gave away the fact that you were driving a Mazda 3 with bite. An LSD and sports suspension, together with all that power in a lightweight practical hatchback, made the Mazda Speed 3 their first real blockbuster. In 2010, the smiley new second-gen Mazdaspeed 3 kept the momentum going. Now it had a hood scoop for better airflow to the intercooler and a bigger mouth for looking happier while it pinned you to your seat. The tuning was tweaked, the interior got a little more refined, and it put on a few pounds too. But none of that changed the Speed 3's life of the party personality, and for around 25,000 bones, it was a hell of a good deal. People bought them up until Mazda put the turbo in hibernation. The third gen 2014 Mazda 3 launched without a Mazdaspeed model, and the name is dormant now. But here's hoping it'll be back when the fourth gen comes out in 2019. Big announcement, we are launching a ton of new merch, new shirts, new hoodies, new hats, stickers, a lighter, a lanyard, tons of new stuff just in time for the holidays. That perfect gift for a donut fan. Now, I want to be totally upfront with you guys. It's currently being printed, and while it won't ship immediately, I promise you that it will be there by Christmas. This is Hans. Hans is in charge of our merch. If your stuff doesn't make it there by Christmas, you can kick Hans in the face. We've never had this amount of stuff before. I'm really, really excited about it. Some really cool pieces, really high quality stuff. Please order it. Shop.donut.media or donutmedia.com.